This is the last couple of shlokas of Vishnu. That actually completes. I've been doing this Upanishad for the last 2 years, more than 2 years or 3 years. It's about 7 or 8 Upanishads are over. There will be one more major Upanishad will be left. Then probably I'll take it at home. Now, what is that I have to take up here in this hall? Is the question, right? So, if I have to increase the attendance, then I have to take lighter topics. Okay, it is motivation, success in life, or how do I attain this like this, or something like that. How to make money quickly, right? How to find a girl or how to find a boy and keep them happy. Some of these topics I have to take. If I take heavy topic, which is actually more deeper topics of spirituality, the attendance will come down, come down. One day I'll be, hall will be enlightened. Only I will be left. There are quite intensive topics which are of very interest, deep interest to the deep, very sharp spiritual aspirants, very sharp, very subtle some understandings are there. So I need to find a balance. What do I talk about? Right? Then there are intermediate texts which are actually there, like some of these Prakada Granthas are there. They outline various stages of spiritual process. Okay. So the question is, whom I am going to talk and what I should talk. Do I talk to attract people, or do I talk to people who are seeking that fight for?
So you continue to do what you are doing. Deserving you automatically come and
Automatically come and back. See, there are basically I can take some of the classical texts, or I can take up in home I am going to take up Brahma Sutra, which is one of the most complex subjects that I am going to analyze. Right? Because that won't be very heavy for this this room. Not that it's heavy, I am making it lighter. I am trying to make the Brahma Sutra more understandable to people. That's what I want to do.
Incident is it's a very great monastery.
Monastery, yeah.
Monastery is functioning missionary. Extremely impressive. That's the chief of the monastery. It's a great man. According to him, he sees that 10,000 monks all are doing that now. It's the chief of
Yeah, that is the challenge.
So basically, in as good of the pyramid, most of pretenders.
No, but people won't get I won't get the fine quality which is required to appreciate. So, but then my specialization is that.
You just have to stay there. You should not come down.
Okay.
A lot of people there will down. But then I properly. You can say that.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
Let us stay there. Whoever deserves it, in good time he will come.
So I try to talk at the common popular topic. It becomes more like a motivational talk which these corporates and corporate training programs that are do. Let me take up the Upanishad, Isha Upanishad.
I think this session can be themed on karma, and classes at your place can be themed on jnana. Classes at here can be themed on karma and bhakti. The classes at your home can be themed on jnana.
Okay. Last time I spoke of vidya and avidya. The knowledge, self-knowledge, and self-ignorance, and actions done by that, and how I indicate both will go to hell. If you are stuck to the words but not the essence. Now there is one more topic taken. Andhatamam pravishanti ye asambhutim upasate tato bhuya Yuvate, Namo, Ya, Mu, Sambhutya, Yataha. This is the 12th sloka of Upanishad. So there is two things which are told here: Asambhuti and Sambhuti. So this is actually a typical fight which goes on between the followers of Bhakti Marga and Jnana Marga. So Bhakti Marga is called Sambhuti and Jnana Marga is called Asambhuti. When I say Sambhuti, Sambhuti is which is manifest. Sambhuti it is manifest, which is it is the glosser. Asambhuti is unmanifest. Asambhuti is unmanifest. So now there are two types of aspirants are there, spiritual aspirants. One is those who worship Sambhuti and those who worship Asambhuti. Now what is that people who are the people who worship Sambhuti? Sambhuti is manifest. So there are people who manifest, who worship the divine beings, the avatar Purushas, the God with their form. The God with their form, they manifest. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to worship Kalika Devi in the form of mother. And he had a realization also. When I say realization, there is a concrete feeling that this is the reality. There is a difference between realization and hallucination, and realization and what we call as imagination. When Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had a realization, it is the deepest conviction that I am talking to the supreme reality. That's called Sambhuti or manifest. Right? He can see through his eyes the mother manifesting. He can hear her words. Now you may say that it's a hallucination, but I won't say it's hallucination. Hallucination leads to mental disturbance, whereas in this realization there is a mental clarity. The deepest level of clarity. As if you are interacting with the reality. Okay? There is hallucination to happen when you interact with unreality. Whereas he is interacting with reality, no doubt, the reality is not total, in the sense it has taken a form, but still it's absolute reality. So that's why there is a lot of clarity in Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. There's a lot of clarity in such bhaktas. So now there are people, most of the people want to take the form of Sambhuti or Bhakti devotion. So then there are other people who say the reality is formless. Why you want to worship form? Go to the formless. Okay. Because reality is none of the forms, none of the diminished forms is the reality. Because the moment there is a form, the form for the form is a birth, death, and decay. Form only can take birth, death, and decay. But reality, supreme reality, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no decay. Then there is no form. That is the conclusion. So you focus on the unmanifest. Now the difficulty here is those who manifest, those who get attracted to form, they have not reached the supreme reality, because the supreme reality is both form and formless. How is that so? Like gold takes the form of a ring, or takes the form of a bracelet, form takes the form of a necklace. It takes many forms. But essence of all the forms is gold. So then you can't say, deny that the jewelry is form, jewelry is not gold. But only thing is our mind gets stuck with the form. We don't go put on the form, which is gold itself. Similar to the situation in case of water, ocean, and a wave. Water I can consider as formless. Ocean has a form, of course, no doubt larger, and wave has a form, smaller. So the wave indicates individual beings, Jivatma. The ocean indicates God, Lord, Bhagavan, and water indicates the supreme reality, Paramatma, formless reality. So the waves will change, Waves can change, but water is unchanging. The ocean, waves change, but ocean doesn't change. So, beyond the changeless, beyond the change, there is a changeless. But then you cannot deny and say that the changeless, while looking at the changing water wave pattern, you cannot forget that the water behind it, ocean behind it. The moment you forget, you identify the form. So that's what happens to many people who follow the worship of the form. They start denying anything other than the specific form as reality. They start missing out. The essence they miss out, they get stuck to the form. Whereas those who worship the formless, they have it difficult. Because mind cannot settle down on something without an identification of object. Formless has no identification, no object. Mind gets confused. Mind cannot hold on to something because there is no structure. Right? Those who are holding on to a structure called form, they are stuck. Those who are trying to escape the structure, they are also stuck because they don't have anything to hold on. So, in this process, both of them go to dark hell. That's what it says. Because those who are stuck to the form, they are stuck to the form. They deny any other form as divinity. Those who are trying to find the formless, they are finding it difficult to settle their mind. So those who worship Sambhuti and those who worship Asambhuti, both will get eventually trouble.
You said behind everything which is changing, there is something which doesn't change. Let me explain.
I'll explain. Behind everything which changes, there's something unchanging. Okay, I'll explain. So now the Upanishad Sloka says, either you stuck onto the form, then you are stuck. You are stuck to the formless, then also you are stuck. Because mind cannot grasp. So only if you are able to go beyond the form and formless thinking, then you have an ability to get freedom. This is the theme.
Formless lecture. Formless lecture.
Yes, Gary.
Capturing the audio. You can.
No, this is gone. This is gone. Actually, that's okay. That's working.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, audio is on.
It will also work on batteries.
And something problem. Say some problem. Yes.
Good. There's no power. No? It's on. It's on.
Okay. Shall I continue? Okay. So this is now the question which you asked is, behind everything which is changing, there is unchanging. So this is something similar to a wheel and axle. The wheel to rotate, the axle has to be stationary. If the wheel has to rotate, the axle should not move. If the axle also moves, then wheel cannot rotate. Okay. If both wheel and axle move, then there's a collapse. So if for everything which is changing, there is something unchanging which is to hold it. If it is not there, it will become a chaos. this is the situation we have in the world also. You can see the seasons change, the temperature changes, the weather changes. Okay, the earth rotates, the sun moves, the galaxies move, something is born, something is dying. Now, if everything is changing, then where is the order? It will lead to more and more chaos. Right? So, if there is no chaos, which means there is something which is structured, something which is upholding this change, something which never changes, which is there, it is supporting this change. That never changing is called Supreme Reality or Brahman. So forget about the world, you take our own internal structure. You go through different states of consciousness. You become in waking state, dreaming state, deep sleep state. In waking state, your waking state to dreaming state, there is a discontinuity. In waking state, you are somebody. In dreaming state, somebody may sometimes become a child, you may become anything. Right? In deep sleep state, you are nobody. So you have totally different personalities, discontinuous personalities. Look at your own body. Your body was so small as a child, it has grown up, it becomes old and dies. The body is changing. The mind is changing. The intellect is changing. The environment is changing. But you still feel the same you. I am same. That what you call as I am same, that I am doesn't change. If it has changed, then nothing of you remains. Every minute you are a different person. For everything which is changing in you, there is something changeless in you. You say, I am a man. You say, I am a woman. The man and woman refer to a body, but I am doesn't change. That I am is what you are. That's not self, being. So in you, that I am doesn't change. In the world, there is a supreme reality which doesn't say. That I am and the supreme reality one and the same. This question.
I was reading that there is Anatta concept. Is this I am same as Anatta?
See, the anatta means no permanent self. Okay? Anatta means no permanent self. What is no permanent self? You call myself, we have a notion of a self. Whenever I talk, I feel I am talking. Now, when I say I am not referring to that I am talking. Okay? So, whatever is relative, it appears and disappears.
The ego, you must say.
Ego is Anatta. Ego is appearing and disappearing. Now, if you remove the ego, what remains is I am, but that is not a manifest. There is no label for I am. It's only for communication purpose we are saying this I am. Right? Behind you, within you, there is something which is unchanging. That I am is unchanging. Now, don't confuse that I am with the ego. We can confuse that I am with the ego also. Okay, when you wake up in the morning, first you feel I am. Okay, then I am a body feeling comes. In dream, I am in separate another body feeling is there. In deep sleep, that I am feeling disappears. Now this is ego, which rises and falls. But where is it rising from and falling from? From the consciousness. That is not changing. So everything which is changing in you is upheld or supported by unchanging consciousness. So now the people are trying to find out that supreme reality in the form of God, in the form of inspiring personality, maybe Rama, Krishna, Ramakrishna, who is the inspiring personality, inspires us and makes us remind the qualities of God. People can identify it. But what happens then? They get stuck there because they are identified in a particular form without understanding that the form is only a small fraction of the reality. So either you are stuck with the form or you are stuck with the non-form. But if you are able to understand about this, form and formless are say two different aspects of reality. The reality is beyond form and formless. It's consciousness. So, without this understanding, you can get stuck and go to hell. That's what he says. Anya devahu Sambhava, Anyathahu, Asambhava, Iti Sushruva Dhirana, E, Nastat, Vichakshire, there is each of the type of practices. Please understand there are so many types of worship, so many types of meditation. You go to any teacher, they will teach some meditation. Somebody will go to some temple, they will teach some worship. There are so many rituals. Okay. Now, if you think that all of them have the same phala or effect, it's not true. Each of them, they are like medicines. Each of them have different impact on our consciousness. It's not, they are not all the same. Different types of practices have different impact on our consciousness. Sambodhi, worship of the form, is important. Why is it important? Because our mind can concentrate on a form. Mind cannot concentrate on the formless. So the mind is initially scattered among millions of things in the world. I want this, I want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. So if you are able to see something very inspiring, whether it's a statue of a divine being himself, a realized master, who inspires you, the mind gets focused. Otherwise, mind is scattered. From a mind which is scattered into billions of pieces, you are able to make the mind unified and bring it to one place. So that is what is called sambodhi or devotion. Now, what is the purpose of bringing the mind, bringing the scattered mind into one place? It's one-pointedness which comes with teaching. Okay. What is the purpose of one-pointedness?
All the energy is.
So when the mind is scattered among a lot of things, okay. So there is it's like a sun rays which is falling on the earth. Okay. Paper doesn't burn there. If you keep the paper even in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh sunlight, the paper doesn't burn, right? Kadapa sunlight. But if you take a focused glass lens, what do you call as lens, no? Magnifying glass. Just hold it for a few seconds on the paper will get burned because the sun rays are focused. The focused mind has certain ability. The mind which is defocused has no ability. Whether it's in science and technology or engineering, the focus of mind is required on any subject to achieve some amount of success. So now, the spirituality or enlightenment or God is an abstract concept. It's not a concrete one. Of course, a divine being may appear to be concrete to you, but from that concrete you have to go to the abstract. From the gross you have to go to the subtle. For that, a scattered or a focused mind is required. So when you focus your attention on a divine being, when you focus your attention on a great being or a divine personality, avatar Purusha, naturally, initially your area of focus is going to be the body. You can only look at the body for focus. I am taking an example so that we can understand. So I am attracted by, let's say I am attracted by Sri Rama, personality of Sri Rama, a great being. Okay? So Rama has a magnificent personality, very courageous. All aspects of Rama attract me. The life of Rama attracts me initially. So then I meditate and contemplate on Rama. Then I gradually start understanding that Rama's body also changes. So I am looking at something which is unchanging, and why I am focusing on body. Then you start focusing on the qualities of Rama, not the physical structure. What is the quality of Rama? The ability to take a decision which is righteous, dharma. The ability to align his life with dharma. The ability to be blissful. Rama means to be blissful even in the worst situations. So this is real Rama, not just physical structure. Like that you move from grosser to subtle. So then you all understand it's not just the ability of Rama, that's the mental quality. Rama must be something greater than this. Where his mental qualities are like this, Atma. Then you realize Atma Rama. So the journey happens from grosser to subtle to subtle to subtlest and transcendental. This is the spiritual journey. For that, focused mind is required. Without focused mind, it can't happen. So that's why in all the scriptures, a focus on the form is given as a first step. But if you are stuck to the form, you don't go from grosser to subtle, then you are stuck. Right? It is like this. Somebody is asking, where is Mysore? Then I show, this is Mysore. Then suddenly the person catches hold of my hand and say, oh, I got Mysore. Okay? You should look at the finger pointing to the moon and look at the moon. Don't catch hold of, get stuck with the finger. So most of the people, most of the deity worship or most of the form worship is the finger pointing to the moon. But people get stuck with the finger itself. But if you really follow that very clearly, because you constantly think of the divine qualities of the Supreme Being, the divine qualities of a realized being, the divine qualities of a master, the divine qualities of an avatar Purush, then mind becomes purified. Because our nature of our mind is such that whatever you do constantly think of, you become that. The purification of the mind happens. So that is the purpose of the worship with the form. In that purified mind, you can grasp the subtler and subtler truths. In the impure mind, you can't grasp. In that purified mind, the realization of the formless becomes simpler. Then you understand form and formless are different aspects of the same reality. Then you have realized the supreme truth. If you are stuck to the form, not correct. If you are stuck to the formless, not correct. If you go beyond form and formless and realize that what is the reality behind this is consciousness, then you become free. So the result of worship of form is one, result of the worship is formless is other one. Okay, what is the result of worship of formless? Let's understand. Result of worship of the form is purity of the mind. Because you constantly think of the quality of a divine being. Let us say you think of Rama, 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 you start constantly thinking of Dharma, Dharma, Dharma. The righteousness. Right? So similarly, if you constantly think of Shiva, 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 the qualities of Shiva is vairagya, detachment, and wisdom. So those qualities start coming in you. Yes.
Somehow we can't take Rama as because based on the water woman state we said Sita.
No. That is your understanding of Rama. That's not Rama. So that's a Rama and understanding of Rama is there. So Rama is embodiment of dharma, spirituality. Your question is Rama asked Sita to go to forest, or Sita sent Sita to forest because the words of fishermen or washermen. See here the subtle conflict you have to see. It is Rama was the fisherman's words is not important. Actually, Rama has a responsibility to the kingdom. Okay? And Rama has a responsibility to the family. The kingdom and the family. Now, he has dual responsibility. Which one he should afford when there is a conflict? Personal gain or personal well-being versus public welfare. So, today's politicians are very clear. Whatever happens to the public, my personal welfare is very important. This is the state of the today's politicians. So Rama's standard was golden standard that day. Whatever happens to my own personal being, it is the upholding of the welfare of the population is more important. So he chose the latter. In reality, after saving Sita because of the vision, he went into a depression. Srinama. But he chose a public welfare versus personal gain.
It's on the prevailing models of the society.
It is not. It is not. It is not a prevailing morals of the society. It is something. No, no, actually, no. It is actually his. The dharma is upholding the morality of the that. What is the social fabric of that part of time? Now you can see in 21st century going with anybody is not a problem, but at that point of it that can cause a social havoc. His job is to maintain social order. Like tomorrow, let's say 22nd century, right? Okay, everybody can marry, or rather, the marriage is disappear. That's the hypothetical. It's a relevant subject. Now, if you impose that on today's society, today's society becomes chaos. At a given point of time, there is an order in the society. Okay, the ruler of that point of time will maintain and uphold that order, and their life also will be included in that. No. See, this is what you call as our understanding or understanding of Ramayana. But ultimately, what matters in the society is the public perception. Today, one of our prime ministers who is outgoing, right, is considered as a non-performer. It's a perception. It may be reality also. But voting happens, public behaves on the perception, not necessarily on the reality. So ultimately, social fabric to uphold, a person who is the ruler, has to be righteous and appear to be righteous according to the standards of the society presented at that point. So now if you apply to modern day rulers, you laugh at that person. What the hell you did? Okay? For a personal gain, you loot the kingdom also. That's the order of the day. But he upheld a golden standard at that point of time, in spite of severe personal loss, which included his own depression also.
What about Sita? What about Sita? Going wrong to work.
See, the thing is, this is the question, right? The public versus private. Okay? A ruler's responsibility. Let's say that time Kshatriya. If the war is there, okay, when they enter into a war, okay, he may get killed also. There's no guarantee that no person who enters into war doesn't get killed. But his dharma is to fight, whether death is there or not. That means he is ready to sacrifice the personal for a larger cause. That is the principle. Now from that you look at that. Right? Sita is one being for him, one person out of, let's say, 100,000 population. Okay. So the question is, two of us suffer. The king and the queen will suffer. But the kingdom remains stable. That is the problem. Yeah.
How qualifies because of this dharma?
Almost like to maintain the order. Order is. What she's doing, you should not be disturbed in this. Basically, the game is consciously not be disturbed. So, when it's taking this step, it feeds into depression. Going against this consciousness.
See, the thing is Rama. Okay? Rama is always called Purushottama. Okay? So he is actually considered the greatest of human being. Okay? He upholds the greatest of human being standard. He doesn't claim that he is a divine incarnation. Okay? So what he says, a greatest of noblest of human being, how he behaves. When there is a public cause, he is ready to sacrifice his personal gain. But personal gain causes him pain. That he accepts. No, we are not speaking of enlightened consciousness. That's what I am trying to say.
Because he is not impressed when he goes to the forest.
No.
He's not impressed in so many.
When Sita was kidnapped, he was
Correct.
life.
Correct.
See, please understand, that's a distinction between the finest of human being
Correct.
and an enlightened being. Okay? So Rama never claims that he is a divine incarnation. People tell me he is a divine incarnation because of his he is considered as Purushottama, a supreme human being who upholds in various aspects of life the righteousness. Okay? In spite of personal loss, order that what is public, what is larger gain, you will see. There are many incidents in Ramayana. It's actually Ramayana, a lot of these conflicts will come. For example, there's a fight between Vali and Sugriva. Rama hides behind a bush and kills Vali. So such many incidents are there. They highlight the conflict which comes in upholding a dharma. Okay? Now, if you really analyze that, you start understanding the subtlety of that decision making. Right? I won't go into all decisions. So there's a the subtle understanding which happens at that level. You have to choose between two. Okay, dharma is always a choice between two. Okay? So what happens is that he has chosen consciously all the time what is for the welfare of the whole rather than person. That's Rama. Whereas if you look at Krishna's life, he is ready to violate any principle. There's no principle which can bind him. Okay, and Krishna always says, I am incarnation. Okay, Rama never says, I am incarnation. There's a difference between the two.
Not represented in Krishna as in Rama.
It is.
Very much. Rama
It is.
is very predominant. Because
Rama showed the path of dharma. And dharma is for a person who is not realized but wants to realize. By working on a righteous path, purify his mind and rise. That is dharma. Once you go beyond dharma, there is moksha, liberation. How a liberated being behaves, you cannot put in a framework. You cannot put a boundary for it. He may perfectly follow dharma or he may violate dharma. But whatever his vision is much larger and universal compared to individual. So then Krishna's actions I can't put in the framework of dharma in that sense.
Krishna actually, in the middle of Mahabharata war, is wearing a garment.
Yeah.
Nobody is wearing a garment. He doesn't have reference in his hand. He's wearing a garment.
Right.
But garland number two is not drained up. Why? Because body temperature is not changing. Because whatever his action is happening there, he's not fluctuated. So he's actually
See,
operating
Krishna has encountered various situations in life. Okay? In childhood, people are trying to kill him. As he grows up, as he becomes an adult, there are attempts to kill him. He lived with Gopikas, where love and romance was predominant. He came to politics where the violence and wars were predominant. Okay, so this is predominant. In any circumstance, the state of consciousness of Krishna never changed. It was always in smiles. Okay? But Rama's life is not like that. Rama cries when Sita is taken into the forest. When Sita goes to the forest, Sita is sent to the forest by himself, he himself gets into depression. So Rama represents a finest of human being who is who is following a path of dharma and setting a golden standard for dharma. That's all you can say.
See, Krishna does not meditate, he does not sit on prayers, he doesn't do puja.
Yeah.
Rama does all these things.
Rama never claimed that he is. We say Rama is Avadara Vishnu, but Rama never says that. Rama says, I am a human being. Right? There is a distinction between the following the path of dharma and a person who has gone beyond dharma, the moksha. The person who has gone beyond dharma is gone beyond the dualities of nature, and his actions you cannot put in a framework and say this is how you have to behave. Voluntarily we may do that, but that's you can't put a framework. Whereas a person who is in the path of spiritual sadhana, he has certain way of living. It is like a primary school kid here. Primary school kid, when he goes to the school, he has to wear a uniform. Why? When he goes to the college, he will wear a jeans pant. Huh? What is the difference? You have to learn certain amount of discipline in that part of your life. So dharma is that discipline which will help you to evolve. Now, what is the golden standard for the society at that point of time was set by Rama. And always in dharma, please understand, when you follow the path of dharma, the conflict which comes in dharma is personal gain versus public gain, public welfare. Then you follow dharma also. It will come very subtly.
Even if you are running a small business with 14 employees, personal wealth as well as 14 employees wealth.
The
Same another thing, personal, coming to the same point, personal wealth and being right in yourself. The conflict comes there because it may be little tricky where you make more money. Still, if you are sincere, your branches is comfortable, but you make money. So that's why
See, please understand what is dharma and what is adharma. It's very, very difficult to judge. Okay? You understand? To make money, I am running a business. To make money, take, let's say, 50 rupees more from the employee's pocket and put it to my pocket. Is it dharma or not?
Money belongs to the
You are there to make profit. Making profit is dharma, business dharma.
that is I'm claiming it. So
See,
whatever belongs to belongs. Whatever belongs to other person.
the question is, what is dharma and what is adharma? Even the greatest and the noblest of people are confused because at the that's called dharma sankara. When it comes to gross, you can always judge, but when it comes to subtle, the judgment becomes very, very difficult.
dharma means if you are consciously understand. Dharma means if you understand.
Huh?
Dharma means if you are very distant, if you gone away from your consciousness.
No, see, the thing is,
You might not be disturbed.
you may not be disturbed. A criminal, while killing somebody, may not be disturbed at all.
You can go on justifying.
That's why dharma and adharma is not there for commenting on somebody's behavior, but setting yourself in a consciousness state. So Rama provides a sort of golden standard for that. The actions of Rama, if you deeply analyze, you start getting subtle the nuisances of dharma. How the conflict will come?
Constitution of Dharma. I belong to this.
Yes.
This country has some constitution.
Yes.
I have to follow that. If you don't follow that, but I also may belong to a particular community where there are some particular things to be done as per my community. If I don't do this, then it can be adharma from my community standards. From my country standards, not following the thing. So they also there's a conflict.
Right, but then dharma always constantly choose. What is, let's say there's a conflict. Let's say I take a family dharma versus society. Society versus country. Country versus world. So that's a gradation, right? What I do for my family may be harmful to the society. What I do for the society may be harmful to the family. So the conflicts are there. A person who is choosing the path of dharma has constant ability to choose what is welfare of the larger versus the welfare of the small.
So what happens if we use electricity? We have, all those things, and that's why solar has started, that has started, this has started. So people have thought about the effect of their actions on the environment. Instead of changing their actions to contribute to the environment.
But it doesn't happen. In general, it happens. It doesn't happen at every individual level. See, every individual makes his decision day-to-day basis. Okay, today we are switching on 10 lights. Are we conscious of the forest degradation because of this? Our individual actions are always looking at our benefit. Okay, somewhere the trade-off takes place. A dharma, following dharma is always consciously choosing what is for the welfare of the universe, larger whole. And that path is not easy. Okay, when you are really on that path of dharma, lot of conflicting issues may come. Okay, a person who is in that will be able to resolve that. For example, Dharmaraya in Mahabharata, Yudhishthira is known as Dharmaraya, constantly following the path of dharma. And look at the situation in Mahabharata. Okay, Dharmaraya never told lie in his life, right?
Supposedly.
No, he didn't. He didn't. Consciously never told. Okay. So what happened was this guy, Ashwatthama, Dronacharya, who is his guru. Guru is invincible. Nobody can kill him. So then Krishna makes a plan by making him demoralized. You can kill him. When he is really full spirit, you can't kill him. So Krishna says, announce that Ashwatthama is dead. No. Ashwatthama is dead. Okay, he tells Dharmaraya. Tell Ashwatthama is dead. Why he tells Dharmaraya? Let's analyze that. Okay. What? Ashwatthama is dead. You announce. Why he tells Dharmaraya? Because Ashwatthama is supposed to be one of the immortals. Okay. Dronacharya knows it. If anybody else tells Ashwatthama is dead, Dronacharya will laugh and continue. But if Dharmaraya tells, then he will give a serious thought to that. Right? So the guy who is telling the truth, if he tells that Ashwatthama is dead, then this guy Dronacharya will take it very seriously. So Krishna tells Dharmaraya, okay, that Ashwatthama is dead. So Dharmaraya is not ready. I can't tell lie. Right? So then Krishna says, then tell the truth. Why you tell the lie? You say Ashwatthama hatak kunjaraha. That means an elephant called Ashwatthama is dead. You tell that. And asks Bhima to kill an elephant called Ashwatthama. There's an elephant called Ashwatthama, Bhima kills it, which is really he kills it. So Dharmaraya is telling the truth now, Ashwatthama hatak kunjaraha. Okay. But the moment he says kunjaraha, Krishna says opposite conch. So what is heard everywhere is Ashwatthama hataha. Ashwatthama is dead. Listening to that too from the words of Dharmaraya, Dronacharya gets
Shaken.
demoralized, okay, shaken. He is, for having lost his son, he says, I don't want to fight a war, and he keeps and sits to kill himself. And then there is a Drashtadyumna, who is the enemy of, who is the chieftain of Pandava's army, goes and cuts the head of Dronacharya. Now here is the question. Did Dharmaraya tell a lie? Dharmaraya didn't tell a lie. Dharmaraya told the truth. Okay? But it is said that in Mahabharata, the moment Dharmaraya uttered that word, Dharmaraya, the whole consciousness of Dharmaraya collapsed. It seems Dharmaraya never touched Dharmaraya's feet never touched the ground. It's not a literal sense, it's a figurative sense. Dharmaraya was always light-hearted because he never told a lie. Now, just because he told a truth which is converted into lie, his consciousness collapsed. Okay? But did he tell a lie? He told the truth only.
He is aware this is the tactics, it's a lie.
So,
If he is unaware,
right.
right. His conscious is a strategy.
So he collapsed. Now, Krishna blatantly did a not error, it's a strategy,
Right.
which is actually adharma by any means. It's a
But as a larger interest, he said that is a correct.
nothing happened to Krishna's consciousness. Krishna is as gentle and as light as ever.
Talent is still intact.
All smiling, and he is in full zoom. Okay. What about the Krishna? So Krishna never identified himself with the personal action. He saw only the universal. Okay. Whereas Dharmaraya thought, and my words are true, but the intention of telling the words is to participate in adharma. And that understanding of that made him collapse. So why did Krishna collapse?
No, why did Dharmaraya?
Dharmaraya understood, but his words are being uttered to confuse intentionally Yudhishthira.
So
He realized that. He felt that it's wrong.
he got the doership thing there and he
No, dharma is only for people who have doership. The person who has no doership goes beyond dharma. Right? So it's a way of purifying the mind. So Dharmaraya, Dharma,
Guilt feeling from that you drop.
guilt feeling he got dropped. Okay. So now I'll give the example of Krishna to something else. So let's say there's a surgeon. Somebody has, let us say, a gangrene in the foot. Okay. So you go to the surgeon. Surgeon looks at a gangrene in the foot and sees he's a diabetic, and if the gangrene in the foot increases, okay, he'll die. So surgeon says take him to the surgery room and cuts his leg to save his life. So Krishna's actions are like a surgeon. So cut this and save this something else. Whereas our Dharmaraj doesn't see that perspective. He sees from his perspective.
Gangrene is also a cell which has got a consciousness.
He's looking at his personal prestige.
Not prestige. Personal sense of duty. Okay. Whereas he is missing the larger picture. Whereas Krishna takes larger picture and micro level details won't matter to him.
But huh?
Obviously, your answer. Allappa, your answer says itself. Ella Krishna tara irakagutta question. Answer is no, obviously, because you are not in the state of Krishna consciousness. The consciousness which is supreme, which can look at the totality and take a micro level action. You are not in that. Your consciousness is the micro level action looking at the macro totality. So micro level looking at the macro is called dharma. Macro level looking at the micro is called establishment dharma.
But one is really a conflict is in Ramayana, whatever happens in the end, almost like there is a stability. But if you go to Mahabharata, it says it comes back to Dwarka, there is a lot of.
No. See, if you look at
there is helpless.
No, not Krishna. There is not helpless. Krishna says,
see, for all his wisdom, then he cannot bring his own clan people into stability.
No. It is not. That's again you are looking at the micro level.
Okay.
Clan. It's not like that. Okay. So you say the Mahabharata after Ramayana, all the people in Ayodhya went along with Rama to moksha, the liberation. That's what he says. Okay. That's what you said.
Yes.
Whereas in the Mahabharata end, there's a conflict, chaos in his clan, Krishna's clan itself. Many people died.
They
Fight with each other. Right. So you have to see the different nature of society at that point of time. Ramayana society, entire society followed law and order. Krishna's society didn't follow law and order.
No, they are like today's politician and today's.
Nobody followed dharma. Everybody has their own. So what Krishna did you to see the impact? Okay, Mahabharata war happened about 5050 years back. Okay, from that 5050 years back till probably 13th or 14th century, India was a peak of civilization. In spite of whatever happened, the Indian civilization peaked. Everywhere in the world, everything chaos was happening. But Indian civilization peaked. That's why all these Western countries, they came in search of India even at the 16th century. Okay, Indian civilization, the culture was flourishing. Right? Okay. Why did all this Ghazni invade in India? Because the wealth in India was at the peak. People were coming to India for education till at the 16th century. Okay. So you have to see almost 4,000 years the action of Krishna lasted in establishing a stability in the country. Many of the people, many of the warlords, many of the people who were ruthless, people who were creating chaos, all of them died in that Mahabharata. What ensured was about 4,000 years of stability in India. That is the action of Krishna. Don't look at the micro level. At the macro level, country level, it happened like that.
Guruji, can you hear me? Hello?
It is very, very, very difficult to judge the action of an enlightened being. Because you are looking at microscopic vision with the macro. Whereas the enlightened being looks at the macroscopic vision with the micro. That's very different.
Hello, can you hear us?
The gaps between the thoughts, is that consciousness? The blankness between the thoughts.
The thoughts are also consciousness.
It's on the curtain. The curtain itself is that consciousness.
See, it is like this. What is consciousness? Your question. Okay. What is not consciousness? There's nothing. Everything is consciousness. Okay. Sarvam khalu Brahma. Everything, all that is there is consciousness. But the problem for the mind is when in the presence of the object, mind takes that form of the object and forgets the subject, the awareness. So when there are no objects in the mind, when the mind is silent or between the two thoughts, what remains is the witness. Okay. So the consciousness is more evident when thoughts are absent. That doesn't mean the consciousness is absent when the thoughts are present.
Background is always there.
Always it is there. But what happens is that screen gets covered. I mean, I'll give you the example of a screen in the movie theater. There are a lot of pictures in that screen. Has the screen disappeared? No. Okay. Now the lights went off. What do you see on the, what do you see? No screen. You can't see the screen also. So the lights going off is equal to your deep sleep. You switch off, then you don't see the screen at all. But let us say the picture is stopped, only light is there, then you see the screen. So that is called meditation. You are aware, but there is no picture. But is
Conscious and conscious.
I am aware,
Conscious.
you are aware, there are no thoughts. Okay? Then you become aware of the consciousness. But doesn't mean that the consciousness is absent in other situations. It's always present, but you lose sight of it. So to tell you, to bring your awareness that between the two thoughts, what is their consciousness is said, just to say that we remove the picture, but light is on, there is a screen. Screen is always there. Am I clear?
Hello? Hello?
This was the way of communicating. The elders of those days used to use different words compared to today's elders. Something happened and then, first of all, in Pratney, it's a technical.
Awareness.
So today, they will say, "Neen matlade."
Oh, Vijay has a question.
Okay.
Vijay, go ahead.
Really, you can ask the
Yeah.
question.
What is the question?
Hello, can you hear us, Guruji?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, Guruji, then is this the right context to look at the Bhagavad Gita as one of the saying, Sarva Dharman Parityajya? How is it applicable in the context of what you are saying?
So, the question which is Vijay is asking is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Shuchaha. So now dharma here, okay, so you have to understand in the context of dharma. What is dharma depends on two things. What you think yourself you are and how you have to behave with the environment. If they are in alignment, it's called dharma. For example, if you think you are a man, your behavior in the society and environment will be with the background that I am a man. This is called Purusha Dharma. If you think you are a woman, you behave in the society and environment as if you are a woman. You cannot behave like a man in the environment. Then it will cause disturbance and disharmony in the environment. Okay. So dharma depends on the subject, what he thinks or she thinks of person. Is it clear? So let us say you think yourself a Kshatriya or a politician. So politician has to behave according to certain expectation of the society. A politician, for example, today's society should be clean administrator. He should not have corruption. He should not have favoritism. He should bring law and order. That's the expectation of the environment. And you align your action with that. If you are a politician, that's called dharma. Otherwise, that's a misalignment. You think you are a politician, but people think you are corrupt. Then this is a misalignment. You are following adharma. you don't think you're a politician, but you're sitting in the chair of a politician, people will think of something else, then something else happens. For example, we had an academician sitting in the chair of a prime minister. People think that he's a prime minister, he expects his certain duty to, he became more of an academician. There's a mismatch. So there's a perception of the society and environment, a perception of yourself. Together they are in alignment, then there is an order that's called dharma. Right? So what you think of yourself and what society thinks of yourself, there's an alignment. So there is an action by you and there's for the welfare or interaction with the society. For example, if suppose a person called Brahmana, okay, there is something called who is a Brahmana. Okay. Now society has an expectation from him, certain moral, certain standard of living. He should know some mantras, he should be able to, he should not eat non-vegetarian, or he should do something. Okay. Now, if there is a mismatch, he starts non-vegetarian, he doesn't know mantra, then there is a mismatch. Then you are not, dharma is not there. Dharma and karma, they are aligned with each other. Now, for every role we play, for example, you think you are a woman and you think you are a mother, then dharma of a mother is there. Upbringing of the children in a certain way. So this is what is called dharma. What you know yourself and your actions which flow out of that is called dharma. In other words, to tell dharma, I will tell dharma, give an example. Fire is there. The nature of fire is to burn. Fire cannot change its nature. Similarly, what you think you are is your nature. From that, what action flows is called dharma. If there is a misalignment, that is called adharma. Right? Actions should be bringing harmony, should be into the environment. There should be harmony, not disharmony with the environment, with your actions. That's called dharma. Now, when you say sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja, dharma, as I said, is your concept of who you are. So suppose you realize that I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Vaishya, I am not a Shudra. I am not a man, I am not a human, I am not a body, I am not a mind, I am not an intellect. Okay? Then all dharmas are gone because your understanding of that is gone. Then what are you? Please tell me. If you are not a body, mind or intellect, you are not a man or woman, you are not a husband or a wife. Okay? You are pure consciousness. Then it's called surrender. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam. Mam ekam. When that mam is that I am. Come to me. Not Krishna as a person. Krishna as I am consciousness. Krishna as the supreme consciousness with you. That I am, the Atma in you. Then what you experience is the real nature. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So papa and punya are there when you have an identity. When you drop all your identities, all dharmas are dropped, then you are Atma Dharma. That's called Bhagavan. When you are in Atma Dharma, your actions and thoughts are there, which mean not necessarily in the framework of so-called society.
It doesn't bind you.
It doesn't bind you.
That's not mean, but it doesn't bind you.
Vijay, does it answer your question?
Yes, Guruji.
Any question? Any clarification?
Yeah. So what I need to know now is, so from an internal perspective, I understand now what you said. That is sarva dharman parityajya.
Yeah.
But still, from a duality standpoint, it is not applicable. Correct? Because from a duality standpoint, you still need to follow certain rule, or you need to still follow dharma.
No, it's not duality standpoint. It is a question of are you in duality or you have gone beyond duality. If you have gone beyond duality, going beyond duality can only happen when you have done surrender, sharanagati. The sharanagati is dropping the concept of I am the body, mind and intellect, then there is a sharanagati, then you have gone beyond duality. So as long as you are in duality, dharma applies to you because you have some identity.
Okay.
There are those two are two different types of existence.
There are two aspects of one existence.
This simple
in that,
Maya, now you're conscious.
Yes.
But you purifying mind, the purifying mind will how does it exist? The consciousness that Maya is there.
same thing. What you told is very simple. People will understand. It's been told again and again. Every child goes school. They come to know that the basic moral stories they come to know.
What do they understand?
That they are all one. There's no difference. But the crux what I feel is getting that arivu in oneself.
Right.
Getting that. Otherwise, textually, you told, you understood mentally, but getting that as a beyond feeling, or in the feeling, it is the game.
Easily. Understanding and realizing there is a gap. There's
Beyond experience.
You're avoiding it.
Yes. Yes. That is actually there is a lot of gap. So that's why in this sloka, earlier sloka, he says, those who think that no, they know Atma-Jnana, they go to hell.
Think means yes, there's
So it is going beyond your thinking and knowing, being.
Don't the clarification, the consciousness is there, Maya is there, purified mind.
Okay, what is purified mind? Okay. So what is purified mind? So the mind, is it different from consciousness? Mind is a word. Okay. Mind is a word which you use. So mind, body, world, are they different from consciousness? They are expressions of consciousness. Is the expression of consciousness different from consciousness itself?
otherwise, right?
That's it. The consciousness only. But consciousness, for the sake of playing the role of, okay, what you call as creation, it takes the identity called self. Okay, there is that supreme reality, Tat. Okay, that reality, we cannot say anything, Tat, consciousness. That Tat becomes Aham and Idam, I and the other.
It becomes object and subject.
It becomes object and subject. I and Aham and Idam. Okay, the same one consciousness takes the form of Aham and Idam. Okay, the moment it takes the form of Aham, it forgets that I have taken the form and starts identifying the form. That's called mind. Now everything is conscious only. Again also is conscious. Now also is consciousness. Okay, when it regains that Aham and Idam are one and the same, the mind is purified mind.
Why at all should we forget?
Why at all?
Why at all should we forget like Maya?
No, that's what is called play of consciousness. Okay, I can ask you. There is IPL cricket goes on, right? Cricket match. Okay, so cricket match. There are millions of people sitting there. Okay, so somebody is hitting a sixer. Everybody, they are shouting as if nobody else on the exists on the earth, right? The people are throwing their pant, shirt, whatever they want to do. Somebody can walk naked on the field ground also. They also do, forgetting everything. Why? That's actually you're engrossed in that creation momentarily. After that, oh, what happened to you? Will come back. So similarly, what happens is the consciousness, for the sake of creation, takes a certain role, and then it gets engrossed in the creation, forgets it momentarily. Now that momentarily, from the consciousness point of view, is a couple of billions of years. That's all. Understand? The momentarily, from the consciousness point of view, is a couple of billions of years, because this time is very large. Just to give a time illustration, some very smart guy, he does a meditation for the God. Okay, smart software engineer, latest from Silicon Valley. So after a couple of years of meditation, God comes into him. What do you want? This person says, "Oh God, okay, what is $1 billion in my terms in your currency? Okay, the God says just 1 cent in my currency. You are $1 billion by 1 cent. So then this person says, God, can you please give $1 billion from your currency to me? Okay, very smart way. Then God says, 1 second, I'll give. What God didn't say is, 1 second is billions of years in this time.
Actually, when looking at what God plans, definitely it will materialize. What the trap here is, this guy has to be born again and again and again just to enjoy $1 billion. So he has on the most way. And the thing is, by the time he gets $1 billion, it will be irrelevant in this form of currency in this world.
So the forgetfulness is momentarily only in the consciousness point of view. But from your point of view, it's billions of years. Okay, so that's why this is a play of Maya. Individual point of view what appears and macro point of view what appears, they are very, very different scale. For all you know, in the conscious mind, this is not even like this it has happened. But from individual point of view, it's a big movie. Right, this is called Maya. Okay. The only thing what has happened is I have not completed 1 sloka. I had only completed 4 slokas. I thought I'll complete Ishavasana today. Okay.
So, one thing can continue. This divine plan of principle. Divine plan of that. What is the actual meaning of divine plan?
What is the actual meaning of divine plan? Who told you this divine plan?
You read it about the divine plan. The divine plan is being executed through Krishna, Rama, so on and so forth. And it says that and times Krishna also
Okay,
says that
I'll tell you in some simple way. What is divine plan is the question. So there is a seed. The seed sprouts and becomes a plant, and plant becomes a tree, and tree gives fruits. So where was the plan of the seed becoming the tree? Where was it?
Just one second in the fruit.
It was there in the microform in that seed. The entire blueprint for a tree and what tree has to do was there in that seed. But you can't see it. Similarly, the entire universe, what it will unfold and what it will happen, the blueprint exists. The blueprint exists in the subtle form, and over a period of time, it only appears, manifests. Right? So nothing which is not there in the blueprint doesn't manifest. So that's what's called divine plan.
So even whatever is that in Kali it said this is wrong, that is wrong. That means it's also blueprint.
It's a blueprint. That's a part.
So then why are we banging our head with
Why are we means what? You and your wife or who?
satsang?
Huh?
I mean, all the secrets, so-called secrets.
That's also part of divine plan. Why is not divine plan? That's also divine plan. How do you think it's out of divine plan?
So that means somebody who is not seeking and somebody who is seeking, that means they're still part of the divine plan.
Yes.
Then, now Krishna says, adharma, dharma, when there's adharma, I'll come and establish dharma. From what context he is telling?
That's also part of the divine plan. That's what is the whole divine drama which unfolds. That's why in Indian literature, why this creation? The answer is only it's a leela, play. That's all. It's a play. It's unfoldment. That's all. Now I'll give it a very simple, in a different way answer. Okay, the answer is in a different way. So divine consciousness has infinite powers, infinite creativity. Okay. And infinite ability to manifest that creation. And everything is infinite. So, and every thought is one logic you take it through, right? There are many thoughts. Each thought, if you take it to one conclusion, it will take a line of action. So, divine mind has infinite ideas of what all can happen. And each idea, it takes one form to fulfill. So one of the ideas has taken the form of you, and until the conclusion of the idea comes, that it will continue.
The idea and thought about.
Thought.
Okay. From the supreme mind, I am one thought.
Supreme mind, let's say supreme mind, like you think as a, is a director.
Yes.
Okay, let's say I'm just giving hypothesis. A director called supreme mind is there. Okay, this director is very creative. He says one beggar is there. Okay, one heroine is there. Oh no, why one heroine? Create two heroines. Okay, so okay, why two heroines? When two heroines are there, at least four villains should be there. So create four villains. Okay, four villains. They should have two heroes. Okay, so now two heroes like that. He like visualize. Okay, now each is a thought process. Now each thought process it takes to logical conclusion. That's what creation is about. So one of the thought process is taken the form of you. It will go to a logical conclusion in that form.
So when that okay, you said that I think it's quite clear. The cosmic mind, when he has a thought, he also has the final.
Yes.
So if the thought is already there programmed into me,
Right.
I cannot deviate from that in any way.
The question is I. Who is that I?
I'm his conscious, my consciousness.
Ah.
Can I still do like you are teaching me dharma?
Ah.
Through this satsang, whatever wisdom I'm absorbing, with that wisdom established me with that supreme consciousness.
Yes, it will. That's why you are here. That's also a part of the divine
The
plan.
problem is we become serious thinking that I am really a hero.
Huh?
Here the director has made me a hero, it's a role.
It's a
I
role.
am becoming serious. You start thinking that I am a hero.
When you are serious, you say I am acting as per the director's plan.
That is a serious word.
So, this is
No, means off screen also I try to become a hero, then there is a conflict. That's what.
yeah. For you, there is no off screen, on screen. Everything is one on screen.
Program.
No. When identification comes, if I'm just playing a role, I just be intense in the role and come out of the role.
Right.
But after the role also I'm still identifying with that. We are already roles.
After the road is not there.
After the
After the road isn't coming up. No, there is only road, only one road.
Prabhuji, you are saying we are already roles.
yeah.
We are already roles. So there is no deficit further by thinking that you are playing many other roles.
Who is playing?
We are already roles.
Correct. Correct.
So there is no further.
No, the question is: are you identified with the role, or you are not identified with the role?
If you don't identify with the role, I'm still a role.
No, that's
No, you are not aware of the road. There is no identification. You are aware of the road.
If you are forgetting your intention, you are actually the hero. It's reality.
Lip cancer.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Sorry, clarification.
Yes.
I'm aware of the role. I don't identify with the role. Correct?
Correct. Now, are you?
No. If you are aware of the role, you are free.
If you are aware of the role, you are liberated.
No. I identify with the role. I'm trapped.
Yes. If you are identified with the role, you are in Maya.
Because where the free will come here.
If you are identified with the role, there is no question of free will. But you have apparent free will.
You have
Apparent free will. If you are not identified with the role, there is only free will.
totally free.
Okay, we'll close for the day.
Guruji, can we ask one another question?
Yes, please.
And if it is going to take too much of time, and if it is inconvenient for others, we can take it another day. This is the same question I had asked in the WhatsApp group about Mount Kailash and Manasa Sarovar.
Mm-hmm.
What is the significance of it? Why is it so revered?
Okay, so I'll give a very quick answer. Okay, if you want, I can elaborate later.
Okay.
So he's asking is what is the significance of Manas Sarovar and the Kailas Parvat. So actually, there is a saying in there is an understanding in yogic or mystical terminology. As is in the microcosm, whatever is in the macrocosm is in the microcosm, and vice versa. What is there in the tree is in the seed, and what is there in the seed is in the tree. So here the context is human being is the seed and universe is the tree. Okay? They have similarity. Human being has a nervous system and a brain, and human being has a mind. So the cosmos also has a nervous system, and cosmos also has a mind. When I say cosmos, not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. So now where is the spinal cord of this galaxy? The spinal cord of the galaxy, our ancestors thought, will go through one center in the Earth. So that center they called as Kailasa Parvat. And the mind, representation of the mind which is there for the galaxy, they are told Manas Sarovar. So the nervous system, what is the spinal cord and nervous system is represented by Kailas Parvat. It is not just Earth, but it is spanning across galaxies. It's like a sort of an axis. Okay, where there is an information exchange take place, some sort of a command and control center is there. Then the Manas Sarovar is the equivalent of mental lake, mind lake, which is there near that nervous system. This is the model. Yat Brahmande, Tat Pindande. What is there in the microcosm is the macrocosm and vice versa. So now the significance of that is that in our body there are various organs, the liver, kidney, heart, fingers, everything. So when our mind is in certain aspect of our body, our consciousness is of one quality. For example, our mind is in the sex organs, consciousness has a quality. If our mind is in the Sahasrara, or topmost center of our body, then the mind has certain consciousness. You have certain consciousness. So your consciousness can be elevated by shifting your awareness to certain centers in your body. Similarly, by becoming aware of the center or the nervous system of the universe, which is passing through the Kailas Parvat and near Kailas Manas Sarovar, there's a lot of purity you can attain because that's a cosmically pure area. So this is the understanding. That's why it's a pilgrimage center for Jains, Buddhists and Hindus. So it's a holy place where you go, your consciousness gets purified because Yat Brahmande, Tat Pindande. Either you can take mind inwards or you can take mind outwards to a holy pilgrimage. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. So it is not really necessary to go to any pilgrimage place like Manasa Sarovar or Kailas. Is also another implication of what you just now said.
So no, there are three aspects. First is if your consciousness is in certain, it always depends on what you are. Okay, for certain level of consciousness, it's always the place is important. Okay, like for example, somebody who is not well, he has to be put in ICU. Okay, he cannot be put in a general ward. Somebody is okay, he has to be put in general ward. Somebody is not, somebody is all right, he has to be outside the hospital. So depending on our state of the mind and consciousness, different spiritual practices are prescribed. So you cannot generalize and say this is required or not required. It all depends on the state of the consciousness of the individual and spiritual evolution level.
Understood.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Right? So for most of the people, the places are very spiritually uplifting, depending on the pure energy there, depending on the holy nature of the environment, uplifts their consciousness. Then I will say that's the right thing to do. So the question is what you are. Who is asking the question? The answer is dependent on that. Is it clear?
Yes, Guruji, it is.
Okay, let us close for the day. लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरिः ओम् Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. Okay. So, Ishavasya Upanishad, I thought I'll continue 4 slokas. I just completed 1 sloka. So, another 4 slokas are there. It will continue for a couple of more weeks. Okay. So, next week we'll continue Ishavasya Upanishad. Next week I thought I'll have to do a travel, but looks like I don't have to travel. Just now I got a cancellation now. Huh? Divine plan. So next week I'll try to complete Ishavasya Upanishad. Okay. So now these are actually the way of analyzing spiritual truths in a very subtle way. So only thing is the people who can receive it are very few. So if I look for a mass, then I cannot tell the truth. If I tell the truth, the mass will be absent.
So for the genuine BBC, our masses will be the popcorn.
Popcorn. Okay.
Last question. Small prayer for enlightenment.
Okay. We not reached there. we wanted to reach there. See, all ways, all practices, please understand, is for the ego. If you are identified with the ego, there is some way of doing it. So when who is praying is that person who is feeling that I am so and so. Right? So we have not reached the prayer actually. Prayer is the last sloka of the chapter. So I thought the last chapter of the sloka I'll cover. I didn't cover. So there is beauty in that prayer also that I'll explain when I come there. Huh? Is it too late? How many people are there? So, I was thinking that I have to travel. I cancelled the metamorphosis class, which is supposed to be there this weekend. Should I? This is already Thursday. Should I announce it and make it by Friday or Saturday? Should I do that?
Saturday not class, sir?
ಅದು ಮಾಡೋಣಂತ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಂತ
Sanjay, it's full day.
full day is typically we do up to lunch, right?
Yes,
After
correct,
lunch. So do I announce the class and do it because it's only short notice, 1 day? Do we do that or we postpone it for next week? What is the choice? So morning is not convenient for you? Then we'll have Saturday morning, right? We'll just announce it. Just check up with the Maniji. Saturday morning. Okay.
Confirm now.
Yeah, she'll send SMS.
Okay. Thank you.